Hey, welcome. Today, we're diving into what might be one of the wildest design challenges ever conceived. How do you build a warning sign that needs to last for 100,000 years? This isn't just a sign for your great-great-grandkids. This is a message for a future so remote its people might not even seem human to us. So the question is, how in the world do you warn them of a danger they can't possibly understand?
First, let's just try to get our heads around that number. 100,000 years. I mean, all of our recorded history, everything from the very first clay tablets in Sumeria right up to the phone in your hand, that's only what, about 5,000 years? The nuclear waste we need to keep safe will be deadly for 20 times that long. It's a timescale that just swallows empires, languages, and even the mountains themselves whole.
And yeah, that brings us right to the heart of the problem. And look, this isn't just some fun thought experiment. This was a real job given to a team of scientists at Sandia National Labs. They were tasked with figuring out how to scream danger across an unimaginable ocean of time to people who won't know our words, our symbols, our cultures. So, where do you even start?
Well, the first thing the team did was figure out what wouldn't work. And it turns out our two most obvious ideas, just write a message or build a giant, tough monument, they fail. And they fail spectacularly when you're talking about geologic time.
So, the first big hurdle is something you could call language rot. Basically, information itself just falls apart over time. Think about it. What means danger to us right now could mean something totally different in 10,000 years. Maybe it means treasure here, or who knows, good place for a picnic. The classic skull and crossbones has meant everything from pirates to just plain old poison. Meanings change.
And this decay happens way faster than you'd think. What you're looking at on the left is the opening to the epic poem Beowulf. It was written just 1,000 years ago, and for you and me, it's basically a foreign language. So if just 1 millennium can do that, trying to write a legible message for 100 millennia from now, yeah, that's a non-starter.
All right, so words are out. The software is a bust. So what about the hardware? Our strongest building materials. You think a giant fortress made of steel and concrete could last, right? Nope, not even close.
Most of the stuff we build today is meant to last maybe a few decades, a century if we're lucky. But nature, wind, sand, rain, that is the ultimate demolition crew. Given enough time, wind and erosion will literally sandblast concrete to dust. Metals will rust and crumble away. All of our greatest achievements are really just graffiti on the side of a mountain, geologically speaking.
So, okay, words fail. Steel fails. Now what? Well, this is where the scientists had to get really creative. They figured the warning couldn't be something you read, it had to be something you felt. Something that bypasses language and speaks directly to your gut.
And this led them to a concept called hostile architecture. The whole idea here is to make the place itself just feel fundamentally wrong, to use shapes and forms that trigger a deep, universal human instinct to just get away. It's not a message for your brain, it's a message for your nervous system.
And wow, some of the ideas they came up with are genuinely unsettling. Imagine a landscape of thorns, just a field of giant, sharp spikes erupting from the ground. Jagged, unnatural shapes that almost hurt just to look at. They're basically using biomimicry, copying the patterns nature itself uses to say, don't touch, like thorns and stingers. And here's the key part. It all had to be designed to be the opposite of intriguing. You don't want it to look like a mysterious tomb filled with gold. You want it to look like a cursed, barren wasteland you run away from.
Okay, but even a nightmare landscape like that has to be made of something. If our best stuff like concrete and steel won't cut it, what on earth will? And this gets us to the really cool material science at the heart of this whole problem.
So the team basically boiled it all down to two top contenders, two materials that have already proven they can take a beating from deep time, granite and ceramics. These are what you might call our eternal materials.
So what's so special about these two? Why do they last? Well, granite is just incredibly hard. It can stand up to wind and sandblasting it for tens of thousands of years without wearing away. And then you've got ceramics, which are kind of like a chemical miracle. Fired clay is chemically inert. It doesn't rust, it doesn't corrode. You bury a piece of fired clay and it can just sit there perfectly fine pretty much forever.
So, we've got our scary design, we've got our super durable materials, but the scientists added one more layer of absolute genius to this plan. A kind of ultimate backup, a failsafe designed to work even if every single thing on the surface gets wiped out.
They called this idea distributed markers.
And honestly, the idea is as simple as it is brilliant. Instead of just one big keep-out sign, you manufacture millions of little, durable warning tokens made out of ceramic, and you literally seed the entire area with them. You mix them right into the dirt, like a kind of informational minefield.
So, let's play this out. Fast forward tens of thousands of years. The huge granite spikes on the surface, they're gone, eroded into dust. But then, some future civilization starts digging around, maybe looking for resources. First, they find one of these little ceramic discs. Huh, that's weird. Then they find another one, and another. Pretty soon, they've dug up thousands. And the sheer number of them, all the same, all deliberately placed, that's impossible to ignore. You'd realize this isn't natural. This is a message, a warning that's literally baked into the land itself.
And even the actual words they planned to carve on any monuments that might survive, well, that text is a kind of hostile architecture too. It's written specifically to be a huge letdown. It basically says, hey, you, treasure hunter, turn back. There is nothing of value here. Seriously, this is not a place of honor. It's an anti-monument.
But after all of this, the entire project slams into this one huge philosophical wall. It's called the warning paradox. Think about it. By creating something so massive, so permanent, so obviously important, something designed to scream, stay away, you might accidentally create the most interesting thing for 100 miles around, a place people feel compelled to explore.
And that leaves us with this really haunting final question. After all that incredible science and engineering and this deep thought about being good ancestors, is it possible the best warning sign is no warning sign at all? Just bury it deep and hope nobody ever finds it. Something to think about.